Alright, maintenance starts soon. Guess it's time to just chill out for a little bit, see what's on Reddit. Hey, didn't I say I was gonna do something? Something about YouTube video? Hey guys, so Ostara, back at it again. It's been a while, Totally didn't forget about this. Yeah. So, anyways, doing a lot of fun stuff lately, but Stormblood is now, if I'm finishing this up on time, literally tomorrow. So I figured, hey, let's, finish up those recap videos. Let's get through them. So today we're going to go through patches 3.3, 3.4, and 3.5. We begin Revenge of the Horde by having Alphino ask to speak with us, believing that Estinian might yet be saved. He's unsure, however, and requests to hear the opinions of ourselves as well as Justola and Kryl. While they aren't certain on the matter, Justola and Kryl have the opinion that if he were to be freed of the eyes, Estinian would be free of Nidhogg's control once again. After Alphino departs, however, we are asked not to allow him to attempt the feat, as it would be very, very dangerous. We, of course, agree. Following the brief meeting, we, along with Alphino, are asked next to speak with Sir Emmerich. He would like to go and ask Hraesvelgr for help in the coming battle against Nidhogg. Alphino is rather doubtful that Hraesvelgr will help, but agrees to help after seeing Sir Emmerich's resolve. Before speaking with the Great Worm, the party stops at Annick's shrine to check in on Vidofnir and also seek their opinion. While the dragon brushes off our concerns about their health, they seem to be unsure about what their sire will say to us. Pressing onwards despite this, the party wastes no more time in seeking an audience with Hraesvelgr. Initially, he is very resistant to our request, but thanks to an appearance by Midgard Soma, he decides to test our strength to see if we are truly worthy of his help. To do so, we enter into Sorkai, the former home of Ratatoskr, and fight our way through, facing off with none other than Hraesvelgr himself at the end of it. With all three party members having completed their trials, we are granted the help of the Great Worm and his brood in the coming battle. This happens just in time, as the attack upon Ishgard begins not even a moment later. We return to Ishgard upon the backs of dragons, making quite an entrance to the Steps of Faith. For a moment, Hraesvelgr attempts to persuade his brother one last time to stop his rampage, a conversation which ends in a battle between the two dragons, one in which Nidhogg comes out victorious. However, Hraesvelgr has given us half his power and bids us to continue the fight in his stead. We step out onto the Steps of Faith one final time and face the foe which has plagued us now for far too long. The fight is long and harsh, with Nidhogg even taking the shape of our dear friend in an attempt to stay our hand. In the end, though, it is us who comes out on top. In a flash, Estinian regains control of himself for just long enough to ask us to kill him, in order to put an end to Nidhogg once and for all. Instead, however, we help Alphino to help pry the eyes off of him, a feat which was only completed thanks to the help of some old and trusted friends. With the eyes off, Nidhogg is finally truly dead, and Emmerich calls for the eyes to be thrown off of the bridge and into the abyss below, where no one may ever find them. After a brief visit to Fortom Manor, we accompany Alphino to the Temple Knight's infirmary, where Estinian is recovering. Shortly after our arrival, Estinian rouses and reflects on his time under the control of Nidhogg. Having finally moved past his anger and his pain, he decided to step away from the role of the Azure Dragoon. Sometime after our leave, Estinian slips out of the infirmary and away from Ishgard. Emmerich decides to abolish the theocracy and create a new republic in Ishgard. This new governing body is made up of the House of Commons and the House of Lords, the latter of which Emmerich is elected to lead. With the defeat of Nidhogg comes the end of the Dragonsong War and the end of our time in Ishgard. And thus, our sights begin to shift elsewhere. Moving on to patch 3.4, Soul Surrender. After things have gave way to a new sense of normality, Sir Emmerich invites us to have dinner with him, where we share stories of our past adventures. As the conversation wanders, however, a House Fortemps servant interrupts, requesting our presence at once at the manor. It appears that Thancred has returned along with an injured Alisaie. As it so happens, she had also been trailing the Warriors of Darkness. She passes out shortly after our arrival, but not before telling us that Garuda is about to be summoned at Xelphatol, and that the Warriors of Darkness are going to go after the Primal. We, along with Alphino, go to Camp Dragonhead and proceed to the entrance to Xelphatol from there. Alphino and some knights create a distraction while we slip by undetected into the Ixali stronghold. After fighting our way through, we confront the Ixali summoning Garuda and come out victorious. Afterwards, the Warriors of Darkness make an appearance, having meant to come and slay the Primal themselves. Instead, as a reward for beating them there, they tell us about how they came from another world, a reflection of our own. One where the power of light far outweighs the power of darkness, triggering a flood of light which will soon destroy their worlds. They want to merge their world and ours in order to save their home. The only way to do so is to break the barrier between the planes via unprecedented destruction. They leave as quickly as they came, and we have no choice but to go back to Ishgard. Alisaie is now awake and feeling well, and we tell everyone present of what occurred at Xelphatol. Despite differing opinions as to the Warrior of Darkness's story, everyone agrees that they cannot be allowed to spur on the beast tribes any longer. Alisaie and Thancred reveal that the Ascians are assisting the Warriors of Darkness by supplying crystals to the beast tribes. While the others decide to interfere with the supply lines, we choose to visit Urianger with Alphino, and Alisaie insists upon joining us. Urianger already seems to be aware of the current state of affairs, and informs us that the kobolds could be next to summon their god. Before we leave, Alisaie requests, rather coldly, that Urianger look into the Garoon oracles for some more information on the Warrior of Darkness's claims of coming from another world. We get to Camp Overlook and find out that not only have they been becoming more aggressive as of late, one of the kobolds has been seen sneaking around the camp. We go to track the kobold down and learn he is Gabu of the 620th Order. Just a child, he came to the camp to try and convince the Maelstrom to stop the summoning of Titan. Gabu's parents and other kobolds who spoke out against the summoning of Titan were taken away, their bodies to be used in order to make Titan more powerful. The prisoners are most likely already dead, but the summoning must be stopped either way. Gabu guides us to where the crystals are being stored so that we may steal them back. While doing so, Alphino discovers that these crystals had been smuggled across the sea from Ishgard. Some of the crystals have, however, already been moved to the site of the summoning, and we must go back into the navel to retrieve the remaining crystals. After a brief reprise to get rid of the already collected crystals, our party enters. Gabu sees the bodies of his parents and the other prisoners and begins to cry for his parents to come back, all while Alphino attempts to reason with the Kobold Patriarch to stop the summoning. Gabu's cries, however, summon Titan, who attacks the other kobolds and throws them off the platform. Alphino summons a carbuncle to distract the Primal while we make our escape. While Alisaie stays with the now unconscious Gabu, we discuss how to move forward with Alphino. While he isn't as strong as the kobolds initially intended, Titan is still a threat that must be dealt with. It's decided that we must then return to the navel once again. Throughout our encounter with Titan, it becomes clear that this version of the Primal was most definitely influenced by Gabu, an example of this being the Primal calling out for its parents. After returning to the camp, Alphino informs us that while the child is awake, it has become apparent that it is possible he fell prey to the Primal's influence. However, the truth of the matter has yet to become clear. A celebration is held that night, however Alisaie is notably absent. We join her and Gabu outside the camp where she tells us of the struggles she has faced since we had last seen her, and we share some stories of our own with her, of the time we spent involved in the Dragonsong War. The next morning, as our party readies to leave, Gabu breaks his silence, thanking Alice and proving that perhaps he may yet recover from the trauma he has faced. While we were dealing with Titan, Urianger did in fact study the Garoon Oracle and made an interesting discovery. A joining of the two worlds would result in the deaths of all those in the other world, called the First, although their souls would be returned to the Source, our world, and reborn. While it is a rather extreme option, it is better than creating another void. We also learn that the Ishgardian smugglers have been found, and that they were also supplying crystals to the Ala Mhigo resistance. Our next destination thus appears to be Little Ala Mhigo. After arriving, we ask Alice about her rather cold behavior towards Urianger, a question which she refuses to answer for now. In Little Ala Mhigo, we learn of a man named the Griffin, the leader of a revolutionary group known as the Masks, the same group that has been smuggling crystals from Ishgard. Our party goes to see the Griffin speak, and there we find none other than Ida and Papalimo. It is revealed that after the banquet where we last saw them, they have been aiding the Ala Mhigo resistance, and during their investigation while there, learnt that the Masks may in fact be attempting to summon a primal in order to liberate the city. Papalimo suggests that the man who has been speaking as the Griffin is in fact someone close to the real Griffin and is simply acting as him in public. In order to confront this man, we pose as humble adventurers who have been inspired by the Griffin's speeches and wish to meet him. During the meeting, Alfino accuses him of attempting to summon a primal, a suggestion which the fake Griffin brushes off. Instead, he informs us that the crystals were given to the Amalja in return for their help in the war against the Garleans. It is also revealed that the man posing as the Griffin was actually someone who we saved long ago in Quarry Mill, and that our actions have inspired many in the resistance. He thanks us before taking his leave. We return and brief Thancred and Alice on the Griffin's claims, before making haste to the Amalja stronghold in order to stop the inevitable summoning of Ifrit. However, nothing appears out of the ordinary upon our arrival, and it looks as if we had been fooled. That is, until we enter the Bowl of Embers once more and are met with the bodies of dead Amalja along with the Warriors of Darkness. They came not for the primal this time, but for us. A fight breaks out and seems to be going in our favor until the Warriors of Darkness use a binding spell on our party. Urianger appears at the last moment and frees us all from our bonds, giving us one last chance to fight. As the battle wears on, we pool our ether into Alice's sword, and she delivers a final blow to the Warriors of Darkness. Their leader, however, declares that you cannot kill that which is eternal, causing Alfino to realize the truth of the matter. The Warriors of Darkness are already dead. We learn that they came from a world where they were the Warriors of Light, and that their world still fell to ruin despite their best efforts. Using our crystal of light in tangent with theirs, we are swallowed up by the light to find ourselves back in the ethereal sea once again. Menphilia appears then, promising to travel to the First and save their world by restoring the balance of light and darkness. Urianger apologizes to Menphilia then, confessing that he had orchestrated events in order to save the First. Menphilia assures him that there is nothing to worry about. Before she leaves, she bids us farewell and entrusts us with Tupsimati, the broken staff of Louisoix. The Warrior of Darkness leaves us with a message before departing, from one Warrior of Light to another. Forge a different path. Seize a better fate. After returning to Thanalan, it becomes clear to us that, as they were already dead, returning to the First meant the end of the Warriors of Darkness, but that is most likely what they wanted. Returning to Little Ala Mhigo with Alfino, Ida and Papalimo express their intentions of rejoining the Scions. Before the party can leave, however, Gundobald appears and remarks how it had been 20 years since he had last seen Ida, and how her sudden disappearance all that time ago left him fearing the worst. Ida then makes a swift departure, and we follow suit. With all members present, Alphino makes a suggestion on how to proceed as the signs of the Seventh Dawn, allowing each party member to act as they see fit, so long as it will help ensure the safety of the realm. And finally, moving on to patch 3.5 and 3.56, the Far Edge of Fate. After a brief run-in with Tataru and a swarm of tailors, we are summoned to the Rising Stones for a meeting with the other Scions. At said meeting, a potential new leader of the Scions is discussed and our name is thrown around quite a bit. However, the meeting is cut short by the arrival of a member of the Ala Mhigo resistance. The Griffin is apparently attempting to drag the Eorzean alliance into conflict with the Garleans in order to take back Ala Mhigo. News such as this must be heard, and thus we make for Ishgard to inform Sir Emmerich. With him, we travel to Gridania, but not before making a stop in Camp Dragonhead, where we meet the new garrison commander, none other than Amenelain Photom himself. We move on quickly, however, and the meeting begins as soon as we arrive. The meeting itself is grim, and plans are made to reinforce the Gridanian border, but nothing more. Mulling over the decision with Alphino and Alice remarks on how she still does not appreciate the world of politics. We return to the Rising Stones to hold a meeting to discuss the outcome of the Alliance's meeting. It is decided that while Thancred, Ugiri, Papalimo, and Ida will attempt to make contact with the Griffin, we will wait outside of Baelsar's wall in case we are needed. Shortly after arriving, it becomes clear that we are, in fact, going to have to fight ourselves. Fighting has broken out on the wall, and it seems that the Resistance has procured Alliance uniforms, hoping to cause a war between the Alliance and Garlemald by making it seem as if the Alliance started one. While we fight our way to the top of the wall, Alphino is to make his way through the tunnels to meet up with the other Scions and warn them of the danger. With time of the essence, we begin our infiltration. After a long climb up the wall, it is revealed to us that the Griffin is none other than Ilberd, the man who betrayed the Scions so long ago. In his desperation and insanity, he uses Nidhogg's eyes, which he had recovered, to summon forth a new primal. In order to deliver the realm from yet another calamity, Papalimo uses Tupsamati to create a prison not unlike the one which housed Bahamut years prior. In doing so, Papalimo gave up his life, and we escaped the wall with the rest of the Scions. While the rest of our party returns to the Rising Stones, Ida remains behind to mourn, and Thancred stays to watch over her. Upon our return, Alice notes that despite the great sacrifice, the prison will not hold the primal forever. Yet another alliance meeting is to be held, and our presence is once again requested. This time, however, there is an unexpected face, Nero Tulskeva, who appears to have a more permanent solution to the newly formed primal, the Allegan weapon Omega, and the council decides it is to be used to put an end to this. Cid takes the party to the Rising Stones, where Ida and Alphino join us, as well as a new face, Gosetsu, a samurai from Doma. He came to ask Ugiri to return home with him, but ends up joining the expedition to recover Omega instead. It is decided that Ugiri, Gosetsu, and Ida will assist us in fighting off the Empire at Carchano, while Cid and Nero are to find their way into the facility which houses Omega. After the battle is done, we join them in the control room, where we finally release the weapon out into the world. All seems to be going well, until the weapon mysteriously falls silent. Cid decides to head for Gridania in hopes of finding out what happened while we were underground. During a subsequent Alliance meeting, we find out that a fierce battle took place between the Primal and Omega before they both disappeared somewhere in Gurabanya. We then head to the East Shroud with Alphino to see the site for ourselves. There we meet with Ida, who reveals to us her deepest secret, that she is not Ida, and in fact is Ida's younger sister, Lys. Upon Ida's death years ago, Lys took up her sister's name, and Papalimo assisted with her deception. Now, she pledges to give her all to liberate Ala Mhigo. Finally, we return to the Rising Stones in order to prepare for the coming war. And thus, we leave Ishgard behind and turn our eyes east. Good luck in the coming expansion, everyone, and I hope you have a great day.